Hey, what's up, hustlers? So that mountain that I just showed you, I actually climbed 2 days ago. Still feeling a bit rough from that one, but this video, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about breaking the routine, breaking a monotonous rut that you might be in, and how that actually helped me do it. Let's dive in.
Now, society tells us that having a routine is a positive thing, and it is in a lot of ways. It's a reinforcement to healthy habits, it's the way successful people start their day, and so on and so forth. The only issue is that a lot of times for a peak performer or somebody who's playing at the highest level, it can actually be stifling to creativity, and that routine and that monotony and that rut can be one of the worst things for you. And that's something that I'm constantly chasing. I'm constantly seeing how can I throw myself into the deep end, probably being a little bit unprepared like I was for this, and see how I fare up. And a lot of times it works out great. Sometimes it works out not so good. I've actually only had one time where it was an epic failure, and I'm going to share that story in its own video because it's such a huge story to tell. But essentially what I did was I tried to put on a how-to drift, drift cars going sideways event in Japan for the very first time. I'd never been to Japan, was on a limited budget, and the whole thing fucking went south, to say the least. And there's been a lot of times, and most times, it actually works out. It tends to work out, right? And that's probably why I took such a big chance there. Ended up losing a substantial amount of money, which, oh well. But I learned a lot from that. And this situation and this mountain climb, well, I thought it was a trail climb, turned out to be a mountain climb that I threw myself into over the weekend. I was, again, not really prepared for. I was fasted, I didn't have enough water, I didn't have really the proper gear to do it. But I thought, you know what, it should only take me a couple hours to do this. Worst case scenario, I can do this and this and this, and I had my backup plan. So I threw myself into the deep end and I did it. I've got two videos that I want to share with you. One when I actually got to the summit of that bad boy, and the second one when I got to the bottom and I was absolutely broken from that. So let's dive into the first video now, and I'm gonna voice over and talk through it with you as I play it.
All right, made it to the top. Apparently this is called, apparently this is called Blodgett Peak in Colorado Springs. Probably shouldn't have done a 1 hour speed and strength workout at 7:30. I got done at about 8:30, I think. Started the climb, the summit, at maybe 9, and it's 11 now. It's a 2 hour climb. And I tried to do this a couple years ago when I was staying here before I got sick and before all this fucked up shit happened over the last couple of years. And I was like, I ran out of light that day. I was like, oh, well, I'll come back another day. Here we are 2 years later.
Okay, so I mentioned that I've done something like this before, and I've done things like this before. The most recent time I did something like this, and I'd actually say it was worse, was back in Asia, in Bali. We climbed a mountain that was about the same size. The only difference is that I was wearing all white right after a mudslide, a rainstorm there, okay? And I was wearing sandals, and the terrain was grass and mud. So much worse terrain. I was slipping and sliding all over the place. I'll show some images on the screen now. When we started and then as we continued to climb up, and then at the very top, it was hotter than the day that I climbed this mountain. It got up to about 86 here, which at the elevation is rough and does take some getting used to, but there it was, I would say, 90s, super humid, and I was only eating, I wasn't eating meat at the time, and I wasn't taking in a lot of protein, so you could only imagine how my body was at that point. And the whole way up, the only thing I was eating as we stopped was rice, white rice. Another difference is that we stopped off at 4 temples on the way up to meditate and pray. I actually took this trip, you'll see in the photos that I'm wearing all white, and I'm with a bunch of other people wearing, men wearing all white, because those are essentially the holy people in Hindu, right? They're the Manku, or monks. And so we took this trek up together because the temple at the very top was magical. I wish I would have taken a camera and filmed this, but that trip too, it wrecked me because how long it took. And that trip took about 6 hours up, and I want to say maybe like 4 hours down. the next day. We stayed the night, and I was cramping the whole night because same thing, wasn't drinking enough water, maybe had some kidney issues starting to kick in, and so all night, and it rained all night, so all night we're sleeping under these little tiny tents or huts, and my legs, my inner thighs were just cramping all night, and my calves. And then the next day we trekked down. So that one was definitely more challenging because the duration of time it took. This one was very challenging because I ran out of water. I ate a protein bar at the top, which was really dumb in hindsight because it's going to get your kidney to start doing what? Processing the protein. And I thought that it would be a quick 1 hour trip down, but I ended up getting lost for an hour and then trekking all the way to another peak and then making my way back to the original trail because the trail looked different. It looked off when I got to this kind of cross road point. And so it took me on this wild goose chase, hour out of my way, and it depleted the rest of my energy. So I was just absolutely cooked by the time that I actually got back to the trail and then made it down. So now let's go through the second video, which is when I got down to the bottom. I made it to the bottom. I have no idea how. I was completely out of my zone on this, out of my league, unprepared, and completely fucked. And man, do I love every minute of it. I think I started having slight kidney failure at the end. My groin started cramping up really fucking bad, which is usually a sign that your lymphatics backing up because your kidneys fucking starting to shut down. I ran out of water about halfway down. I wanted to just take a pair of shorts, a pair of shoes, and some raw fucking determination and get my ass to the top of that thing. Look at that. That's it right there. That's it right there. That's what I just climbed. I was not expecting to go this deep today. I was not expecting to have some coming to Jesus moments in this. I thought it would be a fairly easy, hike. It was not. It took me to the brink a couple times because of the heat and this elevation I'm still not used to. It took me to the brink a couple times, but it was good. So as you can see, I successfully made it down to the bottom. Now there's a lot that could have gone wrong. I only got tied up and lost for an hour, 30 minutes out of the way and then 30 minutes to make my way back. But there's a lot more that could have gone wrong there, and it could have turned into an absolute disaster. That's true for a climb like this. That's true for a trail system. You really got to be paying attention and remember milestones and markers on the way up and notice things around the trail and, on your way up, basically. So I got to the bottom. I made it to a gas station, which I was, like I said, feeling absolutely wrecked. I chugged 2 bottles of electrolytes, got back to the house, took an ice bath, which I haven't taken in a long time. I do cold showers, but I hadn't taken one of those in a long time, and that was great. It felt amazing, by the way, in every awful way possible. And then I took a hot bath after that and ended it there. Slept most of that day. Sunday, yesterday, woke up with soreness everywhere. My hands, my feet, in between my toes. My legs hurt. And then I trained arms that day. That was my strength program that I did. And I'd done a full cardio session before I even done that hike as well. So all the lactic acid and the DOMs that you would normally get on day 2 flooded into day 1. And so that was good in the sense that I got to flush all the soreness out yesterday and the day before, to where today I'm feeling quite good. I did take today off as well, just to make sure that my lymphatic and everything was able to, push out the toxins, and I don't have any anything that is still in my system and could linger and create kind of pockets in my body and soreness that's not necessary if I would have just taken an additional day of rest. So that's where I'm at now. But stories like this, I really think serve the purpose and reminder that, first off, if you're in your comfort zone and you're in a rut, you're in a rut. You know that, like, fuck, man, it's the same stuff every day. I'm not pushing myself. I'm not challenging myself. I'm not excited and thrilled about life anymore. it's time to make a change. And stuff like this will do it. It sounds really aggressive and really extreme to your average person because average people get average results. If you want to, you know, take down something and achieve something really great, you got to do some shit that nobody else is willing to do. I would even say beyond living like a mediocre life, like if you want to live a great life and not survive but thrive, shit like this is required. And the more you do it, the more it's like these little tick boxes in your mind that's like, they're saying two things, and you're able to reference them in two ways. First off, no matter what you're going through, you've been through worse shit. And so you go and do something like this, and it's like, then you're dealing with something in front of you, you know, next week, next year, next month, and it's like, well, nothing's as bad as that. And then the second tick mark is it creates this sort of callousness over your mind, and it reminds you that you're in control. So I could have gone up there fully fed. I could have gone up there with plenty of water and taken my time, but that's not me. That's not how I would do it. And the way that I did it, I would argue, pushed me and really took me to that mental place that I didn't think I would even go that day. But I'm so thankful that I did. So thankful. A couple days later, you know, I'm so thankful that I did push it and go to that place because it's like another piece that I've got now. It's another story that I've got to not only combat the negative inner dialogue, but just to once again show myself of what I can do and what's possible. So, you know, I'll end it with this. If I were to do this again, I would either do it the exact same and do it for time, try and go up a little bit faster, maybe wear different shoes, wear actually hiking shoes, because it was very steep. And I was wearing Nike free runs, so no. Or I would wear a 15-pound vest or 20-pound vest and do the same exact thing. So 3-hour total hike. And I would have just made sure that my pouch of water was completely filled instead of it was halfway filled this time. That's the only difference I would have made. I'd still go fasted. And I think what I'll do is give it like a week, and I think I'm going to be up there doing it again. And let's see what I can do. And let's keep pushing, because it was a great trial and it was a great test, and I obviously want to do it again. I want to keep pushing because it's not a one and done thing. You got to keep doing stuff like this. All right, my friends, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this, click the thumbs up button. If you want more of this, then go ahead and click the subscribe, hit the bell notification. Got something to say, comment below. All the links that you need are underneath this video. See ya.